Hey, did you hear about the trained professionals who get paid to guess wrong? They're called economists. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. That's right. How would you like to get paid what these economists are get paid just to be wrong with your information? It's amazing. But hey, it's part of life. It's part of the cycle. So, hey, it's Steve Rockefeller here, your favorite mortgage guy. And guess what? It's Friday and it's not looking too good out there today. But you know what? We had 43 days without rain in most of the country. Now everybody's getting snow and rain. Wow. Hey, you know what? What an interesting season we're in. All right. So listen, let me start with your questions. Steve, what impact will the election have on rates? That's a question that's come up a lot in the past 2 weeks. We talked about it last week, but I'll go ahead and talk about it now. Guys, remember, I've told you a number of times, Federal Reserve doesn't play into politics. The Federal Reserve governor president, Jerome Powell, is not appointed by a president. He is elected by that board of governors. So they don't play into it. Now, don't get me wrong. The president of the United States can direct the Treasury to do some quantitative easing, which means the Treasury can buy bonds to artificially reduce rates. They did that during COVID. They sold off some of the bonds recently. So they're in a position now, if they wanted to do that, they could. So only time will tell. So what impact does it have? Really nothing right now. The Federal Reserve has already spoken, and they reduced rates right after the election 2 days later, but it had zero impact. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Are there any zero down programs? I answered this question last week, but it came up 4 or 5 more times because a couple of you asked me to clarify a couple things. So the USDA loan, that's the United States Department of Agriculture loans. It's not a farmer loan, but there are certain rural areas, and every state has it. They have rural areas, but you have to, when you call me to ask me about it, I have to type the address into the eligibility chart, and it'll tell me whether or not that property is eligible. No properties in cities are eligible for that. So if you're looking to buy in your city, it's very rare that that's going to happen. Some of the rural cities may be, but not on the inner city portion. It's usually on the outer fringes. VHDA or any other housing development authority programs, they always offer grants. Most of the time, you can't go zero down, but you can go 1% down. Then the Veterans Administration, that's the 100% loan because you served in the military. Certain criteria apply with that, but it's a great loan out there. So those are the top 3. Now, I do have an FHA 100% down loan. It's not the best loan out there. The rates are not the best because anytime you have something that is a connotation of free or 100% or something like that, somebody's paying for it. And it's not going to be the mortgage company. It's not going to be a bank. It's not going to be the government. It's going to be the consumer. So that program is available, just not the best one. Hey, Steve, which financial channels do you watch? I watch several of them. So I watch CNBC, and then I watch Fox Business. I also watch Bloomberg, but I also subscribe to some other things because some of the folks that are out there in the economic world that I subscribe to really deal with mortgages. So it kind of shows me like what impact mortgages are going to have. And I'm going to talk about that as well in a few seconds. Should I pay extra to my mortgage to reduce the balance? Here's what I'm going to tell you. No. Look at your debts. If you've got a loan, let's just pick a number out of the air. Let's say you got a $400,000 mortgage. What are you going to send per month? $100? $200? You're not going to put a dent in a $400,000 loan anytime soon. Now, what should you do with that money? Well, when the market is growing at 6 to 10% or more in an investment, like your 401k, which is pre-tax dollars, put it in that. Or how about paying off some of your 24, 25% credit card debt? Paid that off. You're not going to put a dent in a mortgage anytime soon if you've got a substantial balance. I keep on getting these refinance offers. What do? Throw them away and call me. Call me. Once again, call me. I'm going to give you the straight scoop. You know why? Because if somebody says, hold on, let's back up. Scott, do me a favor. Tell them how many pennies are in a dollar.
100 pennies in a dollar, not 105.
Exactly. There's only 100 pennies in a dollar. So if you're getting something that's got some ridiculously low rate, because if you're watching the financial news, it's telling you what the average rate across the nation is, and it's not the lowest that you're seeing on these offers. They're designed to make the phone ring, and then all of a sudden you get the estimate and you find out your closing costs are $30,000. Okay, remember me talking about buy now, pay later? Well, that thing's going bust. But look, Montgomery Ward's offering buy now, pay later. Who knew Montgomery Ward was still in business? I mean, listen, for $32.99 right here, you can finance whatever the hell that thing is that person's wearing. What is it? I don't even know what it's called. Oh, I don't know what it's called. It doesn't have a name on it. But Montgomery Ward, who knew they were still around? They're back. But don't do the buy now, pay later. You're going to go bankrupt doing that because you're going to do it once, twice, three times, whatever. It's not going to work. Okay, so we have a new president, and the peaceful transition is now starting. You can see right now that he's starting to announce some of his cabinet. Some of you may agree, some of you may not agree. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They still have to be approved through the House and Congress. So, just it's all good. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. However, we did hear from Jerome Powell and a few of the other Fed governors who, that song by the Supremes, You Can't Hurry Love? Well, guess what? We may have to kick the can one more month for Fed reductions. And here's why. So you may have heard last week that I mentioned the Fed cut had zero impact on interest rates. The reason I tell you that is the Fed does not want to tip its hand right now on what is expected around the corner. Now, they're hinting that the markets and rates will definitely improve. We already know that because that's baked into the economy from December forward. However, again, it doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's simply the economy, and some of the economic factors are coming in. And of course, you remember last year we had some problems with the math on the jobless figures as well as some of the retail numbers, and then we found out they were falsely reported. I think that's going to change going into the future, but that's the issue right now is trying to curb inflation and try to figure out, okay, what are the real numbers? What we did see is that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And something else we saw last week was the massive buy of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Doge. Both of them have doubled. Have you noticed that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are now the Department of Government Efficiency heads? Doge doesn't mean anything. I think it's just a play on words, but it's just kind of interesting. Let me ask you a question. Whose insurance has doubled? Whose electrical and gas costs have almost doubled? Now, I'm not talking about gas in your car. I'm talking about natural gas for your house. Well, you are not alone. Now, while we may not see immediately any reductions, in time, we may start to see some partial reductions and some relief because of the expanded power grids around the nation and some of the natural gas pipeline expansions in the U.S. Remember, just because somebody said drill, baby, drill, doesn't mean it's going to be drilled like on just January the 7th. It takes a little time to get that stuff through, to get the signs, the permits, etc. But a lot of these grids that are out there are being taxed from an electrical standpoint because there's not enough power. And we've got all these data stations coming in and they can't support the data, the electrical data. So therefore, they're having to do things, whether it's with nuclear, whether it's wind, whatever it is, it's going to start expansion. And the best part about it is you may see costs come down eventually. What I do want you to know is this, guys. It's going to be a short segment this week. I'm almost done. None of this stops people from buying houses, selling houses, renovating houses, or even refinancing homes. The world's going to continue to go on. I told you I got into the business, 34 years ago. Yeah, 34 years ago. The rates were 9.75%. I was a young guy, didn't know any better. I just knew I had to get loans. So I just went knocking on doors to realtors and builders and said, hey, I got money, got a lot of it. What do you want to do? People bought houses. They just want to know what their payment was and how much they needed to come to closing with. And could they close on time? It was a lot different back then. We didn't have technology. I didn't have a cell phone. I had a beeper. So my point is, if you're going to get on the equity bandwagon, don't worry about the rates. Listen, the mortgage industry has had the last couple of months where the rates haven't been the best, have had record closing months across the nation because people don't care about their payments anymore. They know they're not 8.5%, 9.5% rates anymore. They're in the sixes. They're in the fives if it's a government loan. The point being, get on that bandwagon. The world is going to go on. The question is, do you want to earn equity or do you want to retire debt by refinancing? So you need to get ahead of the rush. You need to call me. All my information here, all down in here. Call me this week. Let's jump in before Thanksgiving. Let's get you pre-approved so that you're out there with your letter so that you can win that deal. Call me, text me, whatever you guys need. I'm here for you. Hope you guys have a great day.